Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to another 320 Sim Pilot stream. And today, as you probably guessed, we're going to take our Toliss Airbus A321 from Frankfurt, where we last parked it after a lot of drama on the ground trying to find out where we were supposed to be parking, and we'll head off to Split in Croatia, which is a bit of a famous destination for pilots in particular. It's a lovely place to go on holiday, absolutely, but it's also got quite an interesting approach. It's sort of set in the side of the coastline with lots of terrain around, so we'll get a chance to have a look at that. Jumping into the chat just to say hello to Fly24, first comment today, well done. Wow, we got loads of new names I think today actually. Guacamole Music, Donald Hoskins, Chickpoint, who I do recognise, Michael, good to see you again, Michael Sakula, Tango Delta, glad you like the music on the introduction. That's done by Fly24. I'm thinking I'll probably use that one for most of our streams now because I think it works really nicely. And Stephen Turley, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Mateo's made it. Mateo was supposed to be at work, so thanks for coming to moderate. Lizzo5, Raz3 Raid, Stephen, Ryan, General Error, Raz3 Raid, I've already said. Ian Morris, good to see you. It's it's nice to have everyone back for another stream. This is pretty much what we did all summer during the lockdown, these little flights around Europe in the Airbus, and I promised I would go east because we've been to the west before, out over to the Canary Islands and so on. We went down into North Africa as well, so I said we'd start going sort of southeast as well at some point. So here we are. We're going to go and enjoy Split. Waspo, good to see you. Alan Story, hope you're doing well. Good to see you join us as well. Ollie, the only Millhouse, Chris Williamson, loads of good names. Thanks for coming along, guys. So, what have I not done? Because, of course, we can't start one of my streams without me being not completely ready. I've once again not managed to file my flight plan in time. So I'm going to do that. And I must also confess, I know some very helpful people on the Discord were showing me how to get the ortho set up. So ortho is a scenery in X-Plane to make it look, I think it's photorealistic. It's pictures of the actual scenery from satellite images that you can then turn into scenery. Sadly, I have not managed to get that done in time today. I am going to apologise for that now, but it will still serve its purpose. As you can see, we're going to do this in the daylight as well, so we get a real idea of why the approach is like it is. Right, let me just make sure I've got this. I think I've got this flight plan done right. Almost there. Yep. Excellent. Okay, right, so that's submitted. Let's see if I can not get in trouble on VATSIM today, which would always be nice. John Harmon, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Parasim, yeah, you're early. Yeah, we just started. So here we are. If you want this livery, I'm going to just check. We should have the stream bot awake. So it should, if you put ! livery into the chat, should come up with the link to this livery if you want it for your X-Plane A321. We haven't flown it in a little while, so I thought it was time after our last flight was in the A300 and our flight before that was in Microsoft Flight Simulator in the Cub. So we are on our stand. You may remember it took us ages to find this over here in this very complicated Frankfurt airport. All the more well paying airlines are over there parked up at the actual terminal. We got stuck on this remote stand last time, which is where we are today. Remote stands do cause sometimes a bit of an issue just because you have to rely on buses, so it just adds an extra few minutes into the whole boarding process. So most people and crew not a fan of remote stands. There is an advantage, which is compared to one jet bridge with two sets of stairs, two buses, you can actually get people on and off quite quickly. Just depends how many buses have to come with all your passengers. We've got about 120 passengers today for our flights over to Split. Flight time about 1 hour 30. I think there's a bit of a tailwind. I am using current live weather, even though we're not in the right time. So here we go. Hello from California, says Kellen Hannigan. So I hope you're doing well over there. It must be nice early morning. Bill's 7X High Mate passed my ATPLs finally, starting IR next week. Yeah, brilliant. Well done. ATPLs are the exams you have to take before you can become an airline pilot, and they're all part of your air transport pilot's license. So well done. They are a huge mountain of books to get through. So that's a nice part to then move on to start actual flight training. Oh, it depends how your flight school does it, but some places do it at the same time as your flight training. So you'll do a bit of study for a couple of days and a bit of flying. Some places you do all of your study for a few months and then you do all of your flying. So yeah, it's a big part of the process. Right, here's our flight plan. As you can see, leaving Frankfurt I'm not going to make the mistake I always make. Today, I'm going to ask them straight away because Frankfurt has so many charts to illustrate my point. I'm going to go to airports. These are all the departure charts. Ridiculous. It just so many. So I'm not going to even guess. I'm not sure which runway they're using. So let's grab the ATIS, which I think is available today. We're lucky. We have air traffic for the start. 118025. Oh, it is nice to be back in the Airbus. I say that, I could still mess this all up very easily, so I'll try to remember what everything is in this one. I've been trying to learn a few airplanes, including the A300.
Frankfurt,
Here we go.
India. Meta report time 1720. Expect ILS approach runway 07 left or 07 right. Runways in use 07 center, 07 left, 07 right, and 18 transition level 60. Wind 110 degrees 4 knots. Cav OK. Temperature 9. 2.1 QNH 1030 trend. No significant change. Frankfurt information India. Out. Frankfurt information India.
So that's interesting. Normally, a big airport like this, you'd have a departure and an arrival ATIS. We've, of course, only got well, that's just a generic ATIS for everything. So that's also quite common at sort of smaller airports. The problem is it's given us 4 runways in use, so we still don't know. We're none the wiser as to where we're actually going to go. So we're going to have to talk to air traffic control and get ourselves some sort of decent clearance to get our way out of here. There is a tower, no clearance delivery, 1199. Let's tune that. I try not to leave it tuned for too long just because it plays through the whole time. Let's give it a go. Find out what I haven't filed. In the meantime, QNH 1030.
Can you say again the departure, please?
Cindy 1 Sierra.
Cindy 1 Sierra departure runway 07
We can
Central,
probably expect something similar.
Squawk 2126.
Easy 2 to Golf departure runway
18.
18.
Okay.
Sorry, departure runway 18. Okay, and the information India. Easy 2 to Golf.
Easy 2 to Golf, feedback correct.
It's always like this here. Frankfurt, good evening. Manta 234. Stand Victor 162. Airbus A321 with information India. QNH 1030. Request clearance for split.
CMAX 234. Frankfurt Tower low. Check formation India. Start of approved. Clear to split via City Bus Serra departure. Flight plan route climb 4000 feet. Squawk 2134.
Squawk 2134, climb altitude 4,000 feet. And can you say again the departure and departure runway, please, for Manta 234?
CMAX 234 departure runway 18. Departure route Cindy 1 Sierra and Squawk 2134.
Cindy 1 Sierra from runway 18, squawk 2134, Manta 234. Okay. I think we got through that. So what have we got? We've got runway 18 for departure. That is quite common in Frankfurt. That's fine. Cindy 1 Sierra. That's where we find out we don't have it. Yeah. No. Now, I don't know if my database is out of date. I did just update it, but there we go. Apparently not good enough. Let's check. 2012, is that right, guys? Am I on the latest update? I thought I was, because I did do it just before this, but what I'm going to do is take a wild guess. Thank you. I'm going to guess that it's very similar to the Cindy 2 Sierra, which is probably what replaced it. So let's do that, because I would imagine that the 1 Sierra became the 2 Sierra in the latest update, but unless I could be in the wrong way around. Yeah, 2 Sierra 2012 is correct. Yeah, I thought so. Thanks, Dougal. Good to see you, Dougal. Hope you're doing well. There we go. Runway 18, Cindy 2 Sierra. We don't need the transition, so let's insert that. That's starting to make a bit more sense. I knew that would be a problem right from the start. So runway 18, it's out over there on our right. Find the chart. 2 Sierra. There we go. Right, so we've been told up to 4,000 feet as well. So let's get that in the window. Got our QNH of 1030. And as ever, guys, do let me know about the audio because I've changed sort of profiles, swapping between the A300 and the Airbus, so constantly changes. Right, what have we got? Elevation is 370 feet, so we can check that. A little bit low. I suspect the QNH is slightly higher in X-plane than the actual QNH he gave us, but that's fine. 220 knots for the initial turn. Straight ahead. There we go. DF158. Thanks for the subscription, Jason Turley. I hope you're enjoying the stream. Yeah, pretty much straight ahead. It's pretty good, isn't it? And then that basically heads to Reed. If I put VOR up here, where am I? What chart is this? Oh, Cindy to Sierra. Oh no, we're doing this one, aren't we? We're heading off down this way. Right. So DF at 158. Then we're going to make our left turn to 176, 177, 178, 179, and then out to Cindy, which is all in there, looking pretty reasonable. So we do have above 2,500 foot restriction there, and 250 knots below 100. We don't have a 220 knot speed limit then, so that is pretty good. So let's load up the last of the performance, which I've already done actually. I've done the init B, so to show you our weight, we're taking off 62.70 fuel, pretty light, 10 tons of fuel. We needed 9 tons. I put on an extra ton in case I mess up the approach. High chances of that today. And let's bring up the performance. As ever, flap 1. I wish this would change. This same issue where you go to flap 2 and the speeds increase. I don't know any airline performance that works like that. I just don't understand. There must be a way we can get around that, but one day. Anyway, runway 18, no shift. We'll go for maybe for the full length, although it's a huge runway. So this did come up earlier today. Thanks for the subscription to Secret. Hope you're enjoying the stream as well. Yeah, this came up the other day in the Discord. When do we work out intersections? So if you're flying in an airline, you'll have a performance calculator that will allow you to type in an intersection and then work out exactly how much distance you're going to have. So from here, actually, we'll probably go full length anyway, so that's fine. As you can see, it's a huge 4,000 meter runway, so it's not realistically going to make much difference for our takeoff here. But of course, it can matter. It can be very important, and it might change what flap setting you need and so on. So it is definitely something we consider in the real aircrafts. But there we go. Right, Toliss. Okay, so we're back to our flap 1. We'll use no shift. Flaps 1. Flex to temp 46. So nice long runway. We can have a nice high flex temperature, which means quite a low power for takeoff today, which is good news. Not as fun, but it is more efficient, quieter for everyone. 158, 158, 160. Position altitude 5,000 from the chart. And audio's good. Excellent. Glad to hear it. Good evening to Hella van der Veen. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, this is second stream in a few days today. So we don't normally do that, but I thought it'd be a bit of fun to get back into the A321 as it's been a while, and that is where this channel has heavily been focused. Thanks for the subscription to Leonardo Manducci. Hope you're doing well. So one thing as well that came up, Matteo asked on the Discord, what about noise abatement procedures? So yeah, we do use them. I tend to leave it at standard. So as you can see, this is 1500, 1500. It's quite common to use 1000, 1000. But if an airport specifies a noise abatement procedure, then you might put in that. So let's pretend that we need to use noise abatement procedure A, NADP A, which will be 1500 and 3000. So with an elevation of 370 feet, I hope it lets me do this. We would put in 370. And then that's going to be about 1500, 3000. This way, we're going to reduce the thrust at 1500 feet, but we're going to keep climbing at V2 plus 10 all the way up to 3.3. Then we'll lower the nose and accelerate en route. Now, it's a bit weird because we're only cleared to 4,000 feet, so actually that could be a bit of a mess today. We'll see what happens. I don't think I can't think of a reason not to do it, but 4,000 is our initial climb, so it's probably unlikely to be used on this sort of a departure. But yeah, so that would be a noise abatement A procedure. And just if airports specify it, that's when you typically do it. So airlines will have their own standard procedure when there's nothing else specified. Just depends what they like, really. Okay, let's get that APU up and running. We've got our 10 tons of fuel on board. Whenever we get fuel on, we're going to check, is it in the right place? Yeah, 5 tons in each wing. That's what we like to see. Fire up that APU. Seatbelt signs are on, passengers are all on, and we're pretty much ready to go, as you can see on the overhead panel. All lights are out, basically. Let's put constraint on there. So, starting to look like a nearly ready to go flight deck. Expecting to taxi out down Lima and then all the way along, but we'll bring up one more chart that'd be a bit more useful because we know that this is a bit of a mess trying to get out of here. But get ready, guys, because look at this. Construction works. And this is, if you'll go flying in the real world, and this is the sort of thing that you'll open up and you expect it to just find the right pages and so on, and work out whether these construction works are valid for the day you're there or not. And there's continued pages. I mean, it's come up before. I don't want to talk about real life incidents too much, but it has come up before that issuing endless charts and NOTAMs is not particularly productive. Put it that way, as you can imagine, because it becomes very confusing. So I'm looking for a parking chart. Parking stands east, no. Parking stands east, no. Parking stands west. I think we're on this one. Here we go. We're on Victor 162, which is over here. Out and along. Not sure what route they'd actually use here, because we'll sort of be blocking these taxiways, so we might have to wait for aircraft vacating. But they should be landing that way, so it should be alright. Mateo, no. Thrust reduction can be at 1500, it's fine. You only have that 5-minute limit, so you on 2 engines you won't be close to reaching 5 minutes at any reasonable noise abatement. Typically it's noise abatement A or nothing. It's pretty standard. 320 sim. Ian Morris says, where'd you get the distance for the takeoff shift? Any chart? It's not really on the charts. That's the problem. It'll be something that your calculator will know. It'll be in the databases, which is why it's quite hard for us to do in our simulator. Yeah. The thrust reduction acceleration is this is an altitude. So that's why it's 1500, 3000 above the airfield. But of course it's showing up at 1830 and 3370 because it's based on mean sea level. Okay, right, what else do we need to do? Should have already done this. Put up the checklist, which I normally have a bit more ready than this, so I do apologise, guys. Right, let's do our before start. So cockpit prep, we have completed. Gibbons covers removed, signs are on and auto. ADIS are definitely in nav. Fuel quantity, we've got our 10 tons and it's balanced. Takeoff data is set, and it's set there, and it's come across to the other FMGC. We do actually check that in the real aircraft. You've got to check that both, because this is FMGC 1 and 2, they need to transfer the data between each other, and it's important that they can. So we do check that the information came across, and we do the same on the init-B page, make sure that both sides have the numbers loaded in. And Barra F, QNH1030 is there. So we're pretty much there. Let's start. Let's jump outside. It's time to get rid of some of this ground handling. Drive away. Oh, need to close the doors. Close, close. Should be good now. I think the cargo is already on and loaded. Excellent. And that seems to be pretty reasonable. We're using the default Toliss sounds because we're in the CFM today. I don't have the BSS sound pack. I need to reinstall the BSS or make sure it's working on the IAE engines anyway. Thanks for the the like texted out like that. Very good. Tarmuth Lysander says, is there a reason why you use ARC mode over nav mode? ARC mode is the most commonly used mode without fail. It is a preference thing though. I could just use nav mode, get the rows. Doesn't really teach me much because it shows me what's behind me. It can be useful. Okay, let me get clearance, and we'll get out of here. But that's good question. So we had startup approved actually earlier, so that's quite common in some airfields. So we can go below line. Windows doors are closed. The beacon needs to come on. Thrust lever is definitely at idle. Mobile phones off. Thrust lever is idle. Parking brake is set. Okay, let's start up the engines. Today we don't need a nose wheel steering disconnect message, and we don't need better pushback. Let's go. You might hear some fireworks in the background. And starting engine 2. Start the timer. Oh, no. I should have my wing view still loaded in. Thank you very much to Alan Story. That's very kind of you for the £15 donation. That's very kind, Alan. Thank you for your support over the previous months that the channel's been running, and put it towards the A350. Yeah, Alan's been requesting that I get the Flight Factor 350 in X-Plane. So absolutely, thank you very much for your support, and that definitely helps us get these sorts of things onto the channel. So that's really kind. Thanks, Alan. I hope you're having a good evening. Yeah, 350 definitely on my radar as a future aircraft we're going to have on the channel. Obviously, the A300 we had a bit of an eventful flight with, just because the sim crashed halfway through, so we didn't quite make the complete flight. I'm hoping that becomes a bit more stable, because I must be honest, every time I've tried to use that A300, I've had some issue at some point, which is a bit of a shame. I know people love it to bits, and it's incredibly detailed, so I do want to get it back on the channel. So you guys let me know, what do you want to see next in X-Plane? Do you want the 757, or do you want the A300 or the A321? I mean, it's up to you guys. I'll be featuring all of them at some point, and then yeah, 350 will definitely have to come eventually. Good point. Is squawk set? No, it absolutely is not. So I need to have that on auto, but before I do that, let's put the squawk in actually, which was 2134. It's like 2134. Some squawks you have to clear out and some you don't, but there we go, and then put the transponder. Okay, engine 2 started nicely. Let's start up engine 1. Yeah, so nav mode just looks like that. I mean, it's fine, but we don't spend so much time looking behind us. It's useful though if you're trying to work out some sort of, say, a departure that goes behind you, something like that. Right. I typically fly with only one VOR selected. I don't see the point in having two of the same radio in there.
116 squawk 2133.
Dougal wants the 300, Video Man Chris, or the A380. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to use the A380 when it comes out. We'll definitely have to do that. Swappy S wants 300 or 75. Very good. 2154 for Dana. Big A320 fan, but because I'm trying to learn how to fly. Yeah, the 320 is the classic. Swappy, very kind for another 100 rupees. Thank you very much, Swappy. You've been supporting the channel very generously. Some more for the A350. There we go. So 350 is definitely on people's radar as well for something they'd like to see. Thank you very much, Swappy. Very kind of you. Right, engine has started. So back to norm. If you bleed off. We don't need the ground power either. We don't need the APU either. And on the spoilers, CG quite aft actually, 31.7. Let's get over there. Quite rare on a 321 to get a CG that far back. I did load it specifically to have an aft CG, but I'm still impressed I managed to get it that far back. Rudder trim to 0, flaps to 1. That is all good. Right, let's go to that ground power from Toliss, because I meant to get rid of that earlier. There we go. Right, let's run the after start checklist. Anti-ice is as required. Obviously, that's off today. Ecam status is checked, all in good condition. Pitch trim is set, and rudder trim is at 0. After start check's complete. It's quite a generic checklist. I'm not sure. I mean, like the rudder trim and so on. I don't know. I suppose it is part of it, but yeah, it's an interesting checklist anyway. Right, let's get ourselves some taxi while we still have a controller. Manta 234 request taxi. Ross Phillips, thank you very much for your $14.99 donation. I'll say thank you in just a moment. Manta 234 request taxi. Runway 18 via Lima. Manta 234. So, thinking back to my taxi tutorial, Lima is hopefully in front of us. Certainly it was on the chart. There's Lima. So forward and right. Check it's clear all around, clear left and clear right to get these taxi lights on. And let me grab the actual joystick I need to actually control the airplane. And thanks for the subscription to Gem007. Oh dear, I'm making a mess of my desk now. I don't have struggle with space for everything. Right, those vehicles shouldn't be in front of us after they've seen us with our
720, have a nice bye.
lights on. Oh, and the Toliss still has this slight bug. Come on, there we go. We'll get back control. And we are underway, heading off. Yeah, that's very bad. I've seen people get reported for that sort of thing, actually, driving in front of aircraft. They think they can make it in time, but it's incredibly bad because, you know, the aircraft's hydraulics could fail or anything, or pilots are trying to do 3 things at once most of the time. So, yeah, not great. Right, Goose the Savage, thanks for your subscription. Yeah, Ross Phillips, thank you very much for your $14.99. Thanks for the content, made learning the Airbus a great experience. Oh, before I enter that runway, I'll better turn around while I'm trying to read. What did I just say about people doing too many things at once? Yeah, Ross, very kind. Thank you very much for your $14.99. It's really appreciated, and it will go towards yeah, more things for the channel, obviously. So thank you very much. I'm glad you've been enjoying the videos, and they've been helping you. It's always great to hear that the Airbus videos are helping people understand the Airbus. As I said, I struggled at first, so yeah, thank you very much. Ian Morris, £10 donation as well. Thank you very much. Another hand towards the 350. Thanks for the great content. And even better, seeing the channel has grown a lot. Yeah, we have grown a huge amount. So thank you to everyone who's been here since whenever you joined. It's just brilliant to have you here with us, and we've had a huge amount of growth over the last few months, as we know from Microsoft Flight Simulator. But it's great that people still stick around and enjoy the X-Plane content, because I really like doing it, and I'm all for trying as many different aircraft out as we can, and different sims as well. I think it's good fun, and I've got some more planned for the near future. So thank you, Ian. I'm very, very much appreciate it. Thanks for your support. And yeah, the 350 is obviously something people want to see. Right, let's get something done before we get out to the runway. So let's do flight controls. So rudder can go full left. You wouldn't move the pedals as fast as you see here. That is just because of the way I've got the sensitivity set up to try and make it controllable as I'm taking off. Mr. Espresso, very generous as always, Mr. Espresso. Thanks for your donation, €5.49. Thanks for the stream, and more for 350. We'd love to watch you try it and learn. So that's. Was that for me? I think it was. I think he wants to get us going. Hold on, Mr. Espresso, I will come back to you. But thank you very much. It's very kind. I'm glad you've been enjoying the stream so far. And line up runway 18, Manta 234. Right, what else do we need to do? Oh, just lost my checklist off the screen. Right, so we've done our flight controls. Let's check the put that on TA-RA. Obviously, the autobrake is going to go to max. Get the radar ready. And put your wind shear to auto. Good. Cabin check. Takeoff config test. Okay, I might have to. I will get back into the chat soon, guys. But I think I'm going to get in trouble because I think this controller wants to get us in the air and out of the way, so they can go and sign off. Right. What have I missed as well? A brief. We're going to take off, make our left turn. There is a 220 knot speed limit at the first turn. We clean as 221. So actually, what I'm going to do is pre-select 200 for the first turn. That way, we can just manage the speed when we're around the turn, and we'll leave the flaps out at 1. And what else do we need to do? Matteo, thank you very much for £5 donation. Who am I at this point not to fund the 350 or the 319 maybe? Would love to see you try that. Yeah, okay, 319, yeah, interesting. But thank you very much, Matteo. Very kind for your donation. You guys are being very generous today. It's really appreciated. It's yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. And yeah, thank you, Mr. Espresso. Thank you, Matteo, for the contributions. Right, so yeah, we got 158, 160, climb the blue 152, climbing up to 4,000 feet, which is set on the QNH of 1030. Should have done a brake check as well at some point. Let's check those before we get out to the runway. We've done our flight control checks. These are the brief, and I'm hoping we're pretty much ready to go. Now, he said line up onto 18. We've taken Lima, so this is going to be a Lima intersection departure. As I said, we know it won't matter too much for our performance. For takeoff checklist then, flight controls we've checked, flight instruments are checked, briefing confirmed, flaps are conf for 1% for green, and that is also checked in here as what we wanted. FMS takeoff data we've done, transponder is set to TARA, ECAM memo takeoff no blue, and cabin memo secured for takeoff, engine mode select is to norm. I'm not going to roll over that line until I'm sure we're ready. TCAS is TARA, PAX are as required, we'll be PAX on again for takeoff. Nice long runway, why not? Okay, here we are at runway 18. I can see that here. It's 3,800 meters. So it was 200 meters shift. You can see that now. It does show you some airports, but not all airports have that sign. Clear on the approach. Let's get the rest of the lights on, strobe lights on before we enter the runway, ideally, so that they can see. And yeah, we are pretty much ready to go. Now, I think it's Andy H1302 who has the, I don't think he's in the stream today, but he has the same joystick as me and showed that it was possible to now hopefully have the middle detent on my my throttles line up with the climb gates. So once we get in the air, I should find it a bit easier and less chance of accidentally going into toga. Okay, so there's other aircraft taking off, landing I think on 07, so they may hold us on the runway for a bit, because they're obviously going to be approaching over this runway. Now we don't normally set the parking brake on the runway, but I will do it today, just to show you what I mean. Yeah, so we're sitting here at Lima, and there's aircraft I think landing on 7, maybe they're on 7 left, but if they're on 7 centre or right, they'll be crossing in front of us. Can we see anyone? Yeah, there we go. So we certainly won't be wanting to take off until we're ready for them to have landed. Yeah, so thank you again to Matteo, Mr. Espresso, and for everyone who's kindly donated. I mean, a question for you guys. I'll see the answers when we're in the air, I suppose, or I might miss them altogether. But I do try and learn the aircraft before I do the streams, just to give me a fighting chance and not have you watch me mess it up or struggle the whole time. Brilliant. Cleared for takeoff from runway 18, Manta 234. Obviously, he's not impressed with the way I've put my call sign into VATSIM. But there we go. Right, so we're clear for takeoff. Start the timer. 50%. It's great having N1s with the CFM, like the NEO. I should be holding the brakes, and there we go. Man, Flex 46, SRS, all thrust is armed and blue. Oh, don't need that much side stick. $82,100s. Bit of a crosswind from the right. Neutral stick. Trying to keep it near that centre line. And rotate. Positive climb, gear up, nav. Oh, heaven. Unlike the A300s, no trimming now. Aircraft just takes me, holds me at the pitch I asked for. It's fantastic. Yeah. Excellent. Oh, never heard that before. 1,000 called out in the climb. Very odd. Right, so next step is, as we saw earlier, we're going to bring the thrust back, leave a climb. So hopefully, there we go. Thrust climb, auto thrust. Excellent. The nose is going to lower a bit, but only to try and maintain V2 plus 10. And then it won't go into climb mode until we pass 3-3. Round the turn we go. Excellent. Oh, bit steeper needed. 127720 Manta 234. Right, there we go. There's the climb modes. There's straight into speed up star. We've done our 220 knots. So what I'm going to do is level off. Let's accelerate. Actually, no, let's call air traffic, because they might have something for us. They might want us to climb quickly. So I'm just going to leave it. And the magic of pre-selecting that speed is that it doesn't suddenly accelerate on me without me realizing. So out, 200 knots. It's doing a good job. Right, let's just check I got that right frequency. 27725. Didn't realize we'd have more air traffic.
You're shortly leaving my airspace, Unicom 122.8. Into Toliss, my Title 17, Foxtrot, Langenrade.
Langen, good evening. Manta 234, altitude 4,000 feet on...
Lufthansa 17 Foxtrot, can you repeat please?
Okay, Lufthansa 17 Foxtrot, please check your route. You are far away from the KRX 1 Delta.
Oh dear.
If you're unable for the arrival, then let me know, then I can offer you vectors.
So, what about flaps? Says Jan. Well, I don't want to bring the flaps in because the speed limit was 220, and I know my green dot speed was 221, and we had the 220 knots for the turn. So if I select 200 knots, then I actually, the magic of 200 instead of sort of 210 or 220 is that I actually get the flap 1 plus F, which just keeps the nose slightly lower down. If we go to 210, you'll see them auto-retract and it pitches up, which, while climbing in a turn, some people don't like. It's fine, though. You'll be absolutely fine to do that. But, yeah. So we won't complete the checklists or retract the flaps until we choose to. If I can't get a word in with that traffic, I will just do it now. But, well, that's my fault, missing my chance. Langen Manta 234, altitude 4,000 feet level on the Cindy 1 Sierra.
Manta 234, Langen Radar, hello. Identified flight level 310.
Climb level 310, Manta 234. Right, there we go. So before we do that, I'm going to manage the speed. Now it's going to accelerate to 250. Just as we want. We're above the S speed and increasing, so flaps can come to 0. There's the auto retraction, by the way, so the F has come in. That goes to 0. Now let's wind in 310, which is our cleared flight level. Put it into thrust climb, and going up to flight level, set standards, out blue, 310. Off we go. Flaps are in. Retract those, get those nose lights off. After takeoff checklist, landing gear is indeed up. Flaps are retracted, packs are on, and the barrier F is set to standard. And away we go. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I missed a few subscriptions there. Thanks to Peter Leons and Southwest 737 Gaming. Got a few there. Falk. Who else have we got? Yeah. Thanks very much for the subscription, guys. I hope you're enjoying the stream. Oh, Matteo there, looking for the likes. Thanks, Matteo. 208 people watching. Yeah, thanks for all coming along to watch. 67 likes. Yeah, yeah. The likes. I know all YouTubers say it. The likes are something that YouTube seems to rely on for algorithms and so on. So it does definitely help with the channel if you guys do fancy liking the video, if you're enjoying it. But there we go. The thing that YouTube keeps saying to me is that I need to encourage the alert button to be pressed for subscribers. It thinks that our rates are a little low for that. So if you guys fancy ticking that bell, that will help out as well, I'm assuming, because YouTube seems to think it will. But I don't know much about it. I just go with what, when you open YouTube Studio, it sort of tells you these things.
Good evening, Easy 2 to Golf on the Cindy 10 departure, 4,000 feet.
Easy 2 to Golf, Langen Radar, hello.
Snake, we are on VATSIM indeed. Hockey for life-ish. Says if you get a chance, you should check out the Thrustmaster Airbus HOTAS. Yeah, I've heard... well, I haven't heard much about it, actually. I know a lot of people have ordered it. It's appeared on the Discord, so I'm looking forward to seeing what people think of it. So that sounds like a vote for it from Hockey for Life-ish. We are flying to Split in Croatia. Right, there we go. We are seeing some traffic. They're descending beneath us. 10,000 feet then. It's accelerating to its en route climb. 325 knots. Excellent. Check those landing lights. Not much use up here. Radnav is already pretty much clear. Secondary, I'm just going to copy over, make sure it's the same as the active flight plan. Don't need that timer anymore. I'm going to have airport on my side. Keep an idea of what airports are around as options. Excellent. There we go. There's our route. It's a pretty direct route. There's not much shortcutting we can expect today. The only issue I do have is I want to do the circle into Split. So Split is going to be a bit of fun. It's quite a complicated approach with a big turn near the terrain. At the moment, the weather is recommending a straight in ILS, but I'm going to try and circle anyway because I think the winds are pretty calm.
Ryanair 166, squawk 2272 and squawk 1 Charlie.
Yeah, the detents for the throttle is something I've complained about many times with my joystick, but Toliss added this, and I'm not sure if this was new, but you've got this, where is it gone? Joystick actions, and then you've got the detent location. So now, I use the Thrustmaster HOTAS 4, which has like one detent in the middle at 50%, but luckily I can align it so that now the climb gate is there, which should hopefully help with a bit of stability. But I'm sure I'll manage to put it into toga at some point anyway. I think seatbelt signs can go off. It's nice and smooth. Lovely weather out there today, really. Really nice weather. I'll have to check I have actually got the correct weather loaded on. Docker says all peripherals are a nightmare to pick up at the minute. Yes. Yes, they are. I mean, I did have a look at some online and it's impossible. Absolutely impossible. Huge waiting list. And it's funny, I've never seen anything like it. It's you can't get a graphics card at the moment. You can't get a joystick at the moment. So I guess we'll just be happy that we have something. There we go. So Han also likes the Airbus Thrustmaster joystick, and Hockey had the Thrustmaster 4. There you go. How does it compare to the HOTAS 4? Warriorlad Gaming says, finally caught you live. Good to see you, Warriorlad. I hope you enjoy the stream, and I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining the channel. Let's get it. Definitely time for a passenger view. Sounds like this controller's taking over Frankfurt, which is quite a handful whilst you're also trying to do this. Ah, Peter Thompson. Thanks, Peter, for trying that. It says classified as made for kids. Okay, I don't know why it's done that. I've specifically... the videos aren't, and I don't tick them as such because these videos obviously aren't. But I've heard that somebody has mentioned that before, so I don't know why that's an issue for some. Video Man Chris has no way to fly it. Yeah, it's a bad time, Video Man Chris, to not have a joystick at all. It's a bit of a shame, but hopefully soon. I'm sure they'll be making more. Desperate to get them in by Christmas, I imagine. That's a really fast climb speed. We are scooting over the ground. Yeah, 420 knots already. Right. Not in Frankfurt anymore. Thankfully, we can close all of those thousands of charts. And we'll start to bring up the split charts. And let's bring up the map. So this is what we're doing. We're heading sort of southeast from Frankfurt. And we're going to split somewhere in here on the coast. Alternate is actually in Italy. Lima, India. I think it's Romeo, November. Yep. So here we go. Split 2 3s without an ILS. 05 is a straight in ILS, but that's no fun, is it? So let's just to show you what we're expecting. Let's do the arrival actually. We're coming in via Oglax today. I wouldn't normally do this at this point in the flight, obviously, but I just want to tick off a few things because it's not actually going to be that long. I mean, compared to our mega A300 flight where we got into the cruise and suddenly had 100 knots more wind than we were expecting. We are expecting a headwind, I think, on this flight. Actually, I think I said tailwind earlier, but that was wrong. Hockey for Life thinks the joystick modelling on the Thrustmaster is better than the HOTAS. Oh, there you go. Good. Yeah, they look pretty. They do look good, and they chose the right colour scheme. Assume this tablet functionality is an add-on to X-Plane 11, says Dockers. Yeah, it's a freeware add-on. This is the AviTab. So it's just a plug-in. Not all aircraft have it integrated like that. A lot of aircraft have it like this. And you can just bring it up separately. Alternatively, things like the 757 also have it integrated into their iPad. So it just depends on the developer of the aircraft. Turtle kayak can bell. Okay, that's good to know. So it doesn't seem to be the same for everyone. I'm not sure what the criteria is. It could be, I wonder if it's to do with which country you're in. Maybe their YouTube categorizes the channel differently, seeing as it produces gaming videos. I don't know though. I don't know. Oh, Hockey Flash, it handles well in the game. There you go, good to know. Fly-by-wire what's working on the EFB, says Chickpoint. Curious how it works. Now stuck with the Sim Toolkit Pro on my laptop. Yeah, I'm excited for the next update on the fly-by-wire, definitely. It must be quite a big one. It's taking them a little bit longer than the previous ones were quite close together. I suppose it doesn't help that Microsoft keeps changing things during the development cycle. Tayani says, is this a normal climb speed? Good question. No. No. Long-time viewers will know I always whinge about this. That's not a particularly high cost in X. And I wouldn't expect to be climbing this fast. It's too fast. I don't know where the cost in X tables come from for this add-on, but yeah, in my opinion, they're too fast. I'd be thinking probably 308. It's very specific. 300 to 310 knots. Something like that. Not 340. No one climbs at 340. Just, well, very rare. The other problem you've got is as you climb, you're obviously passing through lots of different air masses. So, for example, today we're climbing into a headwind. So the chances are that wind speed will increase as we get higher. The result is we're going to see our airspeed increase quite easily. So if that suddenly goes up by 10 knots, then our airspeed will shoot up 10 knots and we'll be overspeeding if we're flying at 340 knots. So it's just not something you'll do. Airspeed ain't costing X 0. See if that gives us some more reasonable speed. Dockers is wondering whether X-Plane 11 is better for airliners. It just happens to be more mature at the moment, so yeah, it has more developed airliners, definitely. P3D, of course, has the most, but I haven't used it, so I can't comment really. But I know that the FS Labs A320 is obviously considered a bit of the definitive Airbus. But in terms of X-Plane, the Toliss stuff is brilliant. And I believe the Flight Factor stuff is very good as well. But I don't have that. Except hopefully soon, the 350. Yes, Video Man Chris. Yeah, the A300, we suddenly climbed into 150 knots of wind, and it climbed at 6,000 feet per minute. So the cabin had to suddenly do the same. This is a bit more reasonable. Excellent. Busy airspace as always, though we're not seeing anyone on TCAS. You can go to nav, for example, and on TCAS you'd see if there was someone around behind you, maybe overtaking you, if you were worried about that, and you might want to fly a bit faster. But that's not the sort of thing you want to do with... it's not really your fuel to burn if you want to spend it like that. You'll do what's best for the day. Pesty says there's a lot of changes in 0.5. Yeah, I'm imagining so. So I'm looking forward to it. Turtle Kayak says, why are there so many waypoints coming up for the flight plan for this next segment, which is just straight? Yeah, good question. Basically, I think it's part of, what have we done? We've gone from Nombo, which is here, and we joined the Yankee 161 airway. We then leave that airway at Mike Alpha Hotel, which is here. So these are just waypoints along the airway, and this happens to be a straight section of the airway. So I didn't have to type these in. I just said airway Yankee 161 to Mike Alpha Hotel. So that's all it is. So they'll just appear. And you want to leave them on there. You do want them to be there because they'll be in your flight plan. I mean, if I bring up the full flight plan, all these waypoints will be loaded in. Because their traffic control could, they think we're on that airway, they could send us direct to Redar or Redvo. And it could be that this airway actually goes off to a point over here and then back over here. You know, it doesn't have to be a straight line. So yeah, so that's why you end up with all of them. Macat Star.
Seabird 560, I was just wondering, could we just get, currently on Lima, Alpha, I was just wondering if we could just get a gate anywhere.
We want to try and get
left, I've got to go in a minute, you see.
further climb.
Okay, Speedbird 567, that may be the best thing. Left, to your left side, there's Alpha 25, takes this gate.
After 5, Speedbird 560, thank you very much.
Under 234, Unicom 1228.
1228, Manta 234. Thanks. Bye bye.
Easy 22 Golf, Unicom
1228.
1228, bye.
Right. Well, can't see anyone above us on TCAS. Let's check. I have got that set to above. It's set to norm actually, so probably worth setting it to above. Doesn't make any difference for actual warnings, but it does make difference to what we'll see. So if I set that to above, we'll see if there's any traffic way above us. Can't see any. Up we go then. We wanted to be at 350 for this one. Thrust climb, open climb. And then we got arms out and flight level 350 blue. Brian Wong says, do airline pilots leave the terrain radar on even after passing 10,000 feet? Yes, we do. Someone will typically always have terrain. At night, someone would have weather, although in conditions like this, there'd be no point. The reason is, it's good to know where the highest terrain is. Now, we're not going to cross the... actually, we are. We are going to go over some serious terrain today. Oh, not like that. If I go to map. So we are up here. We're going to go right over the Alps. So what this does is it just helps highlight that. Just build your situational awareness of where the terrain is around you, and gives you an idea of where you might go. Now, the real aircraft doesn't do this boxes. The Toliss does, but I think that's an X-plane limitation, the way it loads scenery. The real aircraft, it's just there. The other thing worth noting is it's not a radar, it's a terrain database. So this database assumes that the aircraft knows where it is, and then it plots you with comparison to the terrain. And although it looks very basic, and the real aircraft, it looks more basic than this actually. This is quite good detail really. You certainly can't use it to fly around obstacles or anything like that, because it doesn't display it with any accuracy, but it is incredibly accurate in its own mind, if that makes sense. So it knows very closely or very precisely where you are compared to the terrain, and that's how it can give you GPWS warnings on departure and on arrival and all sorts of things. And that database will be constantly checked and updated if they build a building somewhere and things like that, or bridges. It will add it all in. So yeah, it's clever stuff, but it's not a radar. Yeah, it does look like one, especially the way you can see it sort of sweeping. It sweeps, but that's just the way it refreshes. It is just a database, so it's safe to have on the ground. It doesn't pose any radiation threat. Mr. Lewis, 161, hello. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming along. Now, I think someone's flying along with us today, actually. I'm just brought up the map, see if I can find myself. We just left controlled airspace from Germany. There we go, we're being followed by EZ22 Golf. It's also going to split. Excellent. Thank you for the subscription to, I think that is Ola Persson and Valrior and Sebastian Mygins. 3 in a row. Thanks very much. Okay, last 1,000 feet then. Let's just check the level off, and then I'll see if there's any questions left over. Back out star. Excellent. Thanks for the subscription to Mr. Lewis 161 YT as well. Thanks for coming along. Back out cruise. Good. I think a top of cruise flyby, why not? I've never had it flyby right overhead like that. There we go. Not bad. Off we go. Up at home where it's meant to be. So let's do a fuel check. We burnt 2 tons. We've got 8 tons in the tanks, so that adds up to 10, which is great. That's what we started with, so the fuel usage is about right. We would also compare that with our flight plan to what we expect to have when we get there. So you check on your paper one, whatever your airline uses, and make sure that you can work out how much fuel you need to get where you're going. You don't just rely on the box, because this could be wrong. But I can see we got 5.8. We got plenty of extra fuel, even more than I expected actually. So there we go. Systems check then. I'm trying to remember, trying to make sure I get all the Airbus things done aren't all these other airplanes. Right. Yeah, it all looks fine. Got no advisories or cautions, so there's really, it's an interesting sort of check this. It doesn't typically show up much. You might start to see, I don't know, a hydraulic level change. I think I've said before, the green system would normally be low and the yellow system could probably be over the top, because of when the gear's up, it changes around. But there we go. Fuel's balanced still, lovely. I'm still hoping they'll add a fuel temperature into here, because I know other aircraft in this sim have it, so I think it would be good to have. APU is off and powered down. Nice temperatures. The funny thing about these is you'll see it like this now. At night time, you'll see it putting in sort of 30-degree air, trying to keep the cabin at 22 degrees. And then in the daylight, especially on the flight deck, like if the sun was beaming into the flight deck right now, you'd have a really low temperature here compared to the cabin. It's amazing how sensitive the airplane is to the sun. It really makes a difference for the heating. It sounds obvious, but a lot of air is being pumped in. So I always thought that it would probably be around about, as long as it's pumping in 20-degree air, surely the plane will be about that. But no, it really has to change its tactic at night. Everything else looks good. Right. Just having a look in the chat. Hello to Gerald, is new. DMT Donuts. Saying hi, new. Yeah, very good. I think there was a couple of questions. No. What have we got? Oh, I think we've got a few people working on the fly-by-wire mod, so that's great. Thank you guys for all that hard work that goes into that mod, because it's coming along really nicely. A lot of us are very excited about it. Bath McNabb, good evening. Bath McNabb wants to know, is there a minimum fuel you have to have when you arrive? Yes, there is. Oh, excuse me. So it can get a bit complicated if you. There's a lot of sort of sub policies, I suppose you could call them, caveats and things like that. But the basic principle is, I need to land in Split with two things. I need to land with my final reserve fuel, which is 1,209 kilograms of fuel. That is 30 minutes of fuel at 1,500 feet above my destination, which is Split. So I have to land with that. That's called final reserve, because if I need to use any of that fuel, I'll have to declare a mayday. So if I'm flying along now and I realise I'm not going to land in Split with that fuel, then I'm definitely diverting or something, or coming up with a better plan, because that's no good. If you're arriving at your destination, you are holding for ages, you have a technical difficulty, and then the weather's turned bad and you don't manage to get in, or there's delays because of traffic, and you realise that you're not going to get in time, then that would also be a mayday. It's a mayday if you think you're going to burn any of this final reserve. We also are supposed to land with our alternate fuel, 2.2, to go to Napoli today. Because NIRN. So I need to land with that in Split. However, if you go to an airport that has, for example, 2 runways, or a landing is assured and there's a certain time frame, you're actually allowed to use that fuel to stay at your destination, because it wouldn't make sense for us to go to Split's a bad example, it's a bit of a tricky one, so I probably want to keep that fuel intact, because there's reasons I might not get into Split, for example any sort of technical downgrade or something like that. Say you're going to Frankfurt, which has got 5 runways available to us to land on potentially. There'll be no point flying there and then finding out, okay, we're going to burn some of our holding fuel, and that means that we're going to land without our alternate fuel. We might burn, let's say we'll burn another 200 kilos of our alternate fuel. Well, it'd be silly to then divert and burn all of that alternate fuel anyway, just to go somewhere else and arrive with final reserve. Because this planned fuel, remember, it assumes that I might burn that contingency fuel. So I'm going to arrive at Split with just my alternate and my final reserve. So if I then divert to my alternate, I'm expecting to land with just my final reserve. So it's a bit tight anyway. So essentially, legally, I have to land with final reserve. and we should be landing with our alternate fuel unless we've diverted or we've come up with a reason we don't need it anymore. Like Frankfurt has 3 runways, so even if someone causes an incident on one runway and it has to shut, we've still got other options. So you could say a landing is assured. There's a long answer to that question. Hello to Harden J. Robbins and HyperFS. Checkpoint says, sometimes I miss the cruise page in the fly-by-wire mod. It doesn't turn on. Is there a way to record it? I'm not sure about the mod or the issue, if there's an issue with it, but the cruise page is selected automatically by the Airbus. It's very clever. So if I select another page, all I have to do is press it again to deselect it, and it will go back to the cruise page. So there's no way to select the cruise page, but it will always come back if you're not selecting anything else. It's the default page for the cruise phase, and it will stay like that, I think, until the gear goes down. Cool Math Games official says, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, do normal 320 NEO liveries work on the fly-by-wire edition? If you're talking about the... Yeah, I don't know, actually. That's a question for other people. I think the mod would just affect the Airbus core, and then the liveries will have to be just sort of external, but I don't know. I know that there's been some bugs with the livery because the flyby... I try and load up in one livery, and it doesn't work half the time. Perfect lab, no problem at all. I'm glad it was useful. Something as well to note about the fuel planning for this flight, this 15 minutes is very generous. That's not a legal requirement, and you can happily burn all of that fuel, no problem. That's rare these days in airlines to have 15 minutes contingency. You can go down to sort of 3% if you have an en route alternate, and that's where it starts getting complicated, so I won't bore you with en route alternates and things like that. Let me have a look. Brian Wrong says, what's the difference between the first page? There we go, coming up on the Alps. Lovely clear day here. So before we get there, I suppose I should check the MSAs. It's something you'd always do crossing high ground. Make sure you know at any point in your flight, if you need to depressurize, what can you go down to? And we have Mora on these Lido flight plans. 4,000, 4,2. 39, so it's all pretty low, so 4,000 feet would work here, and then it goes 7982 127 Varob after Varob 15 17. No, that's not right. Did it more at 4. Okay, it drops again. Have I gone to the wrong page? Is that going to take me all the way? Well, I can see a 12.7. Not sure why it's drawn these airports here. Very odd. And then it, I think it reduces again. So 12.7, so that's 13,000 feet. And we can see 12.3 on the terrain. Another reason to have that radar here. You can see it says 12.3. So the highest displayed terrain on this display is 12,300 feet. So yeah, so 13,000 feet would be safe if we depressurize. So we can't go down to 10,000 feet, which is obviously what we would normally do if we depressurize. So it's something we have to consider. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to 13,000 and then turn around. Or, if I'm a bit further along in the route, carry on over towards sort of Ljubljana. Right, I was going to answer that question about the different block fuels. So we've got our block fuel on page 1. Block fuel is 9 tons. That's the fuel you're going to have sitting at the gates before you taxi out. Then there was a different fuel. Sorry, I've lost the question. Block fuel usually on page 3. Which block fuel does appear on here? Let's have a look. Fuel 9 tons. Estimated 9 tons. So I think they match up. That's I think they're the same. 9.0. 9.0. Video man Chris says, They hear ATC talking to multiple aircraft at once. What's the best way to know that they're talking to you? Is it hard? It's something you just learn through exposure to it, really. It takes time. It's not easy. Your first few flights dealing with the radios. Likewise, when you swap airline and you suddenly have to learn a new call sign. So you'll get to the point where your airline's call sign will make your ears prick up for a second, and you'll be listening, and then the next thing you're going to hear is the number. So we're Manta 234, so I'm listening for Manta, and then if there are other Mantas around, I'll be listening for Manta and 2, and as soon as I hear, like, say a 4, you could forget about it. But I'll tell you what's really hard, it's when, say we're Manta 234, and then you have a Manta 432, or any combination of those numbers, that still causes problems for people. So the Euro air traffic control system, all these flight plans are filed, and then it should deconflict call signs. So if flights are typically departing at the same time with similar call signs, it would actually stop that happening in theory, but it does occasionally happen, and you'll get air traffic control warn you when you come onto frequency, and they'll say, caution, there's a similar call sign on frequency. Sometimes, of course, one of you's late and one of you's early, and that similar sort of thing can happen. Ted Chen, this is the Toliss, indeed. Toliss A321. Dougal, I'm glad it's useful. Good to know I can still still give you some useful information. Dougal's been watching for a long time, and has watched a lot of the videos. But yeah, it's you know, that's why I really like doing these streams, because there's always questions. I always write down a list of things I want to talk about, but there's always so many questions that come up that I hadn't thought of. So I'm just going to check. I don't think we have air traffic control when we get down to Split. Let me just do a little refresh on the VATSIM map I use. Someone's going into Dubrovnik in front of us, but no, there's no controller there. So that's good. So we're going to do what we want, which is going to be the VOR Bravo. Now, slightly unusually today, guys, I'm going to have to... I won't even be able to see the chat once I start the approach, because I'm going to have a few things open to try and keep on top of it, or attempt to anyway. So we've got our arrival, OCLAX, then we're going to do the approach. So yeah, so I might miss things at the end of the flight, so I do apologise, but there'll be more streams soon for you to come along and ask questions and so on. And I am going to, obviously I've got more tutorials to come out soon. And I'm trying to learn a couple of other aeroplanes as well, for a bit of fun for the channel. So yeah, a few things coming, but so I do apologise later on when I go quiet. Right, so Brian Wong says, when flying the 350, I usually load the max on page 3. Oh, I see, yeah. So the page 3 of that chart showed us, yeah, possible extra 10.9 tons. That's quite a clever feature. I mean, 20 tons of fuel is a huge amount. That's, I think, assuming we have the auxiliary tanks, which we don't today. They are not... I didn't think we did. Maybe we do. Pretty sure we don't, though. I think that button is... outdated. Anyway, right, so here's our arrival. Let's bring it up on here. Plan, zoom right in. MCDU, not enough space on the screen for this ever. So from OCLAX we go to, thanks for your subscription to Thierry Sardou. Thank you very much. I hope you're enjoying the video. OCLAX. Then we're going to go to intercept this arc for the OCLAX 4 Charlie. That's all in there. Round we go, and then that's straight in on the RS. But I'm assuming you guys would like to do the VOR Bravo to 2-3 and watch me struggle to do that. So that's going to be another OCLAX. None of these. I don't think. It's not going to be the 4 Alpha. No. So actually, let's close that. Let's change this around. I thought it was being very clever there by having the arrival chart first. So it's not the 4 Alpha, probably the 3 Delta. That goes to Oscar and then Lassel. That looks right. Okay, so 3 Delta. Via Lassel. Insert. Okay, so that's better. So Oclax. Out on the 323 Sierra, so 19 miles out. Then join our arc round to Amolu. Then it's another arc. I mean, imagine that's ridiculous, but there we go. Into Lassel. That is the holding point and the initial approach fix. So if you see IAF, initial approach fix, you can't go beyond that without clearance from air traffic control. Having said that, some airports will also have, they'll write clearance limit or something like that at a different waypoint. For example, they could write it at Oclax, and then you couldn't go past that point without clearance. So it does depend on the airport. There we go. So in via Lassel, then we're going to go to the final approach fix for runway, final approach fix 019. There, FF019, it's on the 019 radial. We're going to get down to 2,500 feet at the final approach fix. And this is a really bizarre chart. I don't know if there's a better way to show you guys. I can sort of do that. Yeah, so this is where it's really interesting. What happens here is very different to most VOR approaches. It's not like a normal one. A normal VOR approach, obviously, you would start your descent and then continue it down to the runway. It just doesn't work here. We're going to go from 2,500 feet down to effectively our circling altitude. We're in a Cat C aeroplane, maximum 180 knots, so 2,040 feet. What I'm going to do is put that in as a minima to remind me of that 2040. So it's basically, it is a circling circle to land in daylight only, hence why I had to change the times. We're then going to, so we're flying down past 5 miles at 2,500 feet. I'm going to be, it's configured to flap 3 and gear down, I think, at that point, just to have it really slow. But I don't want to have flap full, because what I'm going to do then is go down to my circling minima of 2,040 and fly level. And I don't want to fly level, gear down, flap full. The aeroplane will do it on 2 engines, but if you have an engine failure, it won't maintain altitude. You can't do it. So, for example, if you're on single engine flying a straight in approach to an ILS, you can't do it with level flight, gear down, flap full. You've got to wait until you're descending. Flap full is a lot of drag compared to flap 3. So that's why we'll be gear down flap 3. We'll head out to the Sierra Papa Lima VOR. We're going to get there, and then we have to make a right turn. And look at this. Look how confusing this is. Cat C and D 049 hidden away as a note. It's not even drawn on there as a radial. We're then going to fly outbound Sierra Papa Lima on the 049. So let's put that into fix info. So to those of you who haven't seen it before, I click VAROB, or in fact just your top left key. So you just press flight plan and press the top left, then fix info on the right, and now I enter either an airport or a waypoint or a VOR. So today it's the Sierra Papa Lima VOR. Check you get the right one. So this one is split 115.7 1157. It will also order them in distance, so the closest one is typically the most reliable. But funnily enough, there is a Sierra Papa Lima 435 miles away, which is unusually close, which I think is over in Amsterdam. So yeah, this is one of those few scenarios where, because we're in between the two, it's actually not as clear as it usually is. Often the other one will be sort of 3,000 miles away and you can just ignore it. But there we go, Sierra Papa Lima. And then I want to go outbound on the 049. So I'm going to put that radial in. And now, if I go back to my flight plan, scroll through, we should see it. So there we go, Lassel, FF, let's zoom in again, 10 miles. And then Sierra Papa Lima outbound on that radial. You can see the blue line is the missed approach procedure. So if we're not visual at our missed approach point, which is the VOR, the Sierra Papa Lima, which is that M, so we're going to level off. We can still be not visual, but if we then get to the M and we aren't, then that's tough. We have to go around. We're going to go right with a maximum 185 knots. So we're going to keep out flap 1 at least for that. Round the turn, out on the radial 123 to go and hold at this waypoint, Hotel Uniform Mike. No problem there. Altitude for that, 5,000 feet. So let's put that in as well. Engine acceleration 5,000, so that if we go around and we have an engine failure, we have to level off. Last time I tried an approach like this was into the Faroe Islands, and we didn't get it right the first time, and we ended up doing 3 approaches. I think, was it 3 or was it 2? I think maybe it was 1, then we set up for the second and then had to change it for a third. There we go. Right, once we're outbound, as soon as we get over this VOR, I'm going to start my descent to carry on down for the airport. It's not very clear on this chart, but that seems to be the way to make it work. So we'll get overhead the VOR, start our descent, tracking out. I'll be in track FPA because the magic of the Airbus is it will track it for me in track FPA mode up here, which is incredibly useful. It's genius. It means that I don't have to fly a heading and account for the wind. I can just fly a track. I'll use the automatics for that because that's going to make my life easier. Out to 3.4 miles from this VOR, then I make my left turn. And I'll start my turn no faster than 180 knots. We're Cat C, but that's the same, 180 knots. But we'll be at gear down F speed, which will be considerably slower. We'll probably be down at 148. 3.4, left turn round onto final, starting our rate of descent sort of pretty standard from that point onwards. Do not cross the 4.6 Sierra Papa Lima. Now we can't do decimal points in here, but I can put in a radius. So if I put in 4, then we can see that that should draw a ring around at 4 miles from this Sierra Papa Lima, which you guys will see here. So you can see how useful that fixed info page is. It's really critical for things like this. So I can go slightly outside that, but as soon as I do, I need to be very careful that I don't go any further, because 4.6 is the limit. And especially if we have a tailwind, that could be quite easy to do. Right, then we're going to turn around final. Obviously we need to go to flat full, so we'll do that as soon as we start our descent from the Sierra Papa Lima. We'll go to flat full, and then we'll start our turn, take out all the automatics to fly around that turn onto final, and let's see if we can manage it. If we do go around from finals, let's say we're unstable or we mess up the landing, we actually have this line here, go around procedure, which is just straight ahead. So that's pretty nice to have. It's called, got missed approach and then go around procedure. So after passing the VOR on the proceed on prescribed track, turn left 229, climb straight ahead to DVN NDB 3,000 feet and hold. So it's 3,000 feet if we go around from this point out to the DVN. Turn left 229, straight ahead. Yeah, so pretty good. So we got an option for a go around in the event of a complete mess up of the final bit. Right. There we go. So we've got a bit of a plan for the approach, but as you can see, a bit of an interesting one. Should be a bit of fun, something different today. There we go. Just to remind you, we are in an aeroplane and not just looking at a whole series of charts. Thank you very much, Butter Zero, for the donations. CFA 500. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Thanks for donating to the channel. That's very kind. CFA. I always struggle with the currencies. Is that Czech? Sammy Turk wanted to look outside. There we go. I hope that's satisfying your outdoor requirements. Brian Wong, I'm glad it seems useful, but yeah, it's not that's not a specific way. I'm not telling anyone how to do that approach exactly. That is a way that we'll try today. Mateo says, too late to set up the visual runway 23 on chart 1910. Let's have a look at that. Visual approach 23, 1910. Right, what do they do here? Oh, these charts are good, aren't they? When they just have no waypoints. So from Rorke in do not cross 4.6. So it's really similar. In fact, I think it's a bit wider out, but it does take you right to the 4.6. Then that little one note, what's that saying? 540 feet recommended altitude. I'm not even sure that was in the FMGC. Oh no, F23 visual. Is that the only one we have? No, there's an RNAV Visual 2.3, which takes you out to Rorke, and that's actually a bit wider. But I had a look at this, and it wasn't coded in properly. I'm not sure if this needs special approval and who uses it. Visual approach track to the runway 23 to be planned by aircraft operator and used by means of visual reference only. Yeah, so you can't fly that using those waypoints. I suppose you could type them in individually. But I think we'll do the VOR. It's very similar sort of idea. Basically, all of these approaches get you downwind, and then they say, right, get yourself to the runway, and you have to come up with a bit of a plan. Oh, it's West African, says DMT Donuts. Thanks. Yeah, I do apologise. Ian Morris, what nav aids would you set up on the RadNav page? Good question. Very valid and something we should do. So we're doing this VOR. I think the VOR is tighter in. I mean, it's an instrument approach, so it's designed to get you close to the airport, and then you can see it for the whole time. Right, what was the altitude on the RNAV out of interest? What does it have any minima? I suppose it doesn't. No, because it's all visual. 1272. Yeah, interesting. I suppose you could type those waypoints in. I suspect they're in the database. Sierra Papa 507. Sorry guys, I'm just sort of interested. No, not in the database. There you go. I'm not sure that's included properly in the database we've got. Right. Nav aids. That's what I was doing. So VOR, obviously we want the Sierra Papa Lima. So I'm going to tune that now. Put that to VOR1. Course, well, for the instruments approach, it's 019. We'll be on that course the whole way down. So let's put that in. 019. The course isn't too exciting because I can use this screen and just look at the needles when they come to life. But now I've got that 019. If I go to VOR on the rows, I actually can see it there, which is useful. It's particularly useful because if I select that page and then the VOR fails, you get this screen where you can't see anything, and it's very obvious that the VOR's failed. It's not so obvious if you're using ARC. So it's funny that question came up earlier. If I'm using ARC and the VOR fails, the needle will disappear, but it's not very obvious because it's usually going to be hidden in these green lines anyway. So that's one advantage of the VOR page for doing this approach, definitely. How long have we got till our descent? 120 miles. Playmantic says, what is the procedure for when you put the thrust to climb? So depending on what departure you did, it will say lever climb up here, and then you bring the thrust levers to climb, and then you leave them there for the whole flight until landing, when I bring them to idle, just as I'm about to touch down. The auto thrust is engaged now, which we can see up here, and I can see that it's trying to fly a Mach number, and these don't move, unlike in a Boeing. Flytra says, what is the pink overlay called? Is it free? The pink overlay is from Fly Live Studio. It is free. It's pink because I made it pink. It's doesn't come like that, but I just sort of edited the files a little bit. So I say I did. My graphical designer, I'll call them, that helps out, who's done all the thumbnails for you guys as well, did that for me. Sasha Broom, thanks for your subscription. I hope you're enjoying it. Yeah, Keith WST says, could you do a lesson on activating secondaries and alternates and diverting in flight? Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. So definitely something I should consider for the future. I know I get a lot of questions about changing the flight plan in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but the problem is it just doesn't work quite like it should just yet, but it's improving, so hopefully soon it will be. Right, split's quite a short runway. We'll go medium auto brake, flat full for landing, of course, because I want to be slow as I come around that turn. There would be an advantage to being flat 3, which is we would be fully configured earlier. But there we go, we'll go flat full. Cam A321, hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Yeah, all well here. I hope all is well with you, wherever you are in the world today. Right, guys. We are on VATSIM, but we're not talking to anyone, so I'm actually going to just take a very short break. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. There'll be some nice music for you guys, and we'll see you again as we get ready to start our descent down into Split. Hello, we are back, and let's see if I've got any messages from VATSIM. No, I got away with it. Excellent. So, thanks very much for sticking around. We are now shortly going to begin our descent into Split, Croatia. I see our colleague is catching up with us. Our EasyJet friend flying along to Split as well. Yeah, so there is our plan. We chatted about just before the break. So that is pretty much where we're going to go, what we're going to do. And finally, of course, something that we all underappreciate the importance of, oh no, not that one, is going to be airport. Nice and small, just 4 charts. That's what we like to see. There's the parking charts and not the briefing. Here we go. So landing on 23, and I reckon we'll probably be off at Alpha. It's actually quite a reasonable length runway, 2,550 metres, with a bit of an inset threshold, elevation of 50 feet. Brings me to my next point, which is we need to know when the radio altimeter is going to come to life. It comes to life 2,500 feet above the ground. Now, as we said, we're going to descend to 2,000 feet before we get to the Split VOR, which should be over the water here. We're 2,500 over this ridge. So I'm expecting it may come alive over that ridge if we're at 2,500 feet as we reach that point, and then it should stay alive all the way down. And then we go over another ridge here, so I'll expect it to get pretty close. You can see the spot height there, 712 feet. So we're actually going to be about, that'll be about 1,900 feet, or we're at 2,000, so we'll be almost 1,000 feet above this. So the radio altimeter will go to sort of 11 or 1,200 feet, and then drop away again to 2,000 as we start our descent. Samuel Severe, we are landing in Split in Croatia. Fidelity Sim Guides, yeah, it is. Thanks for the good luck. Yeah, we are going to need it today. It's hard to do with 2 people, or it's certainly an engaging approach. It's definitely more engaging than just an ILS. Checkpoint, yeah, a quick tea break, absolutely. Samuel Severe, it's an A321. Vehicle Boy says, hello, new to the stream. Thanks for coming along, Vehicle Boy. I hope you enjoy the video. Glad you like the music, Howden J. Robbins. Yeah, it's just from YouTube's collection. I've forgotten the name of the artist. I must write that down. My intro and outro music are by Fly24, and the link's in the description. Little Jack, hello there. Good to see you. Thanks for coming along. And of course, hello to Samuel Severe. 88 Keys likes the videos. You're right about changing flight plan mid-flight in Microsoft. Yeah, I'm glad it's not just me. But yeah, it is a bit of a mess at the moment anyway. Okie doke. How are we looking for our descent? Oh, we're doing alright actually. 80 miles to go. So we've got a plan. We know where our terrain is. We know where our MSAs are. They are quite high. It's 3.7 to the west of the split VOR, or mostly to the west, and then it obviously much higher around here, but we won't go into that area until we're following the procedure. So that's how we'll make that safe. After landing, yeah, Alpha, back on ourselves, and we'll just take whichever stand seems to be free, whichever suits us. What we do need to do is get the weather. I'm just going to check naughtily. Have I got real world? Yeah, we do. Good. Okay, so that should work in our favour because I need to load it in. MCDU. So let's make sure we've done all of this. So the flight plan we've definitely checked all the way through. The RadNav we've tuned to Sierra Papa Lima. In reality, both pilots would almost certainly tune it. And probably on both radials. There we go. But it's a VOR approach, so we need to have one of those selected and one of those working for sure. Progress page. Now this is an interesting one. I'm going to put in the runway 23 threshold, so LDSP23, and that way I can see my distance to go roughly as I'm coming around the turn. One problem I've noticed in X-Plane is just the visuals. Because of this pillar and the way we're sitting, it's a bit harder than in real life. Also, we're quite high, so when you're in a banked turn, it can be a little hard to see through here to see the runway. So we see it later than in real life. You've got a much better view out the windows and obviously a wider field of view, and you can move your head around so you can see it earlier. So that's my excuse. I'm making my excuse for when I mess it up. But there we go. So I'm going to have the threshold in here, and I'll try and keep a roughly 3-degree approach because, after all, the Pappies, I think, on both sides should be set to 3 degrees, although that's not entirely clear on this chart. Anyway, there we go. Perf page. So we're doing our hat. So flight plan, RadNav, progress, perf, fuel, secondary. So perf page now. Let's load in that weather. QNH 1027. Temperature 18. Wind 02012. Now that's annoying. Because that's going to mean the whole approach is not really possible to do. Because that would mean circling with a ridiculous... well, we'd have a headwind for the circle, turning to a huge tailwind on final, which is just not what you do. So this would be a really nice day to fly to split because you could just do the straight in RS. So we might change that. 5,000 feet for the go-arounds. There we go. Paul B, thanks for your subscription. I hope you are enjoying the stream, if you're here with us in the stream today. Turtle Kayak says someone should add make landing excuse to the through 10,000 feet descent checklist in the references channel. Yes, it should be there, but certainly you have to have your excuses in before 1,000 feet. If you try and make excuses after 1,000 feet, it doesn't count. It's too late, so you're just making it up by that point. So there is a pretty hard and fast rule for us all that you have those excuses sorted out by 1,000 feet at the latest. No pizza, no glory says love the videos. That's very kind. I'm glad you've enjoyed them. And you're flying the 321 and 319. That's great. You're very welcome, and thanks for coming to say so. Video man Chris has been humming the intro music for the last few days. Oh, that's good. I'm sure Fly24 will be glad to hear that. I'll pass it on. Oh dear. The excuse will be for if I have to do a missed approach and go around. We hopefully won't do anything too exciting. It is possible to get a just in X-Plane, I mean, a GPWS issue. So I'm going to discount it today. In real life, we no longer can ignore any GPWS. We follow all of them. But I know that the database doesn't quite work in X-Plane. So if it comes on, then that's fine. We will talk about that later. But it's in real life now, we can't ignore any GPWS of any kind. Hello to Varan Serawat. Is it harder to fly a plane in real life? Well, there's two of us in real life. You get more sensations, but also obviously there's more time pressure and everything's a bit more real. You know, that the unpredictability is much larger in real world operations than it can be when you're on X-Plane or any sort of simulator. So yeah, it can be a bit harder, definitely. There can be days where it's just brilliant in real life and everything runs very smoothly and it all works as it should, and those can be really nice. This is the A321. Hayden J. Robbins, is it worth learning the A321 mod in Microsoft Flight Simulator yet? Is the autopilot stable enough? The autopilot hasn't changed much. The modes are better and the PFD is better, so it shows you what the autopilot's trying to do more than it used to because of the great work by the fly-by-wire mod team, but it's not there yet. It's not the same as the Toliss yet. It's still a work in progress for sure. Johan Jannings says, can you make a video on RNAV approaches in the Airbus in Microsoft Flight Simulator? I would love that. You're very welcome for the videos, by the way, Johan. And the reason I haven't done an RNAV video in Microsoft Flight Simulator is I haven't been convinced it's working properly yet. So I haven't made it do an RNAV approach as I'd expect it to, and therefore I can't really make a tutorial on it until it behaves like I expect it to. Otherwise, I'm just making a tutorial on something that is not really how the Airbus is expected to work. And I think the reason I get a lot of people asking me for tutorials on it, and I suspect the reason is they think it should work one way and it doesn't, and they think that they're doing something wrong when actually for RNAVs in Microsoft Flight Simulator I don't think it's very possible at the moment. I might be wrong. I haven't tried them in a little while. I did try Gibraltar, but there was no chance. It wasn't even close. I do have videos on my channel in the Toliss in X-Plane doing RNAV approaches and VOR approaches and track FBA approaches. So those are full tutorials where I talk through the setup and the different things you'll need and what you're looking for in the MCDU. So I highly recommend having a look at those videos for Airbus style. And if you try that in Microsoft Flight Simulator and it doesn't work, then that's probably what I would expect to happen at the moment. Lee Brown is flying the 757-200 on my computer on Infinite Flight. I didn't know you could use Infinite Flight on the computer, but very good. You're welcome, Aidan. No problem at all. I have the IAE BSS sound pack Playmentic, and I normally use it. I'm just using the Toliss sounds for the last two streams. Oh, I think I've just pressed the wrong thing there. Yeah. Get that back to where it was. See, I told you I'd managed to mess that up anyway. Mac order thrust. Yeah, I do normally use the BSS sound pack, but it's I'm just trying out the Toliss sounds for the last couple of streams because they changed it. So we've got new sounds for I think for the CFM and the IAE, but I just thought I'd give them a go. But we'll be back to BSS, I'm sure, soon, because I still think the BSS is very good for the IAE engines. Oh, there you go. Turtle Kayak has the answer for the VNAV working in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, it's got a fair way to go. It's quite a complicated thing to get right, I'm sure. Mr. Killer Bunny says, do you think Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 eventually will be realistic, or is it X-Plane worth 11 worth the investment? It would have to be a personal choice. Yes, I think Microsoft Flight Simulator will be realistic one day for sure. It's got a lot of people working on very realistic add-ons for it, so one day it will be. X-Plane 11 obviously has been around for a while now and will probably get replaced eventually, but the issue with X-Plane 11 is you're going to have to buy these aircraft. These are separate aircraft. This Airbus I'm flying now was not included with X-Plane 11. I had to buy it separately. So that's it is a bit of a monetary investment. And certainly compared to Microsoft, the graphics outside aren't obviously the same because it's an older simulator, but still, I still think it looks pretty good most of the time. But there we go. It also runs very well. I must say they've done a great job 60 frames a second, and I'm streaming at the same time. So yeah, and I'm in quite a complicated aircraft, although the Toliss aircraft are very good for their frame rates. They seem to be almost the same as the default aircraft. I don't know how they manage that. It's amazing. Varan said, which is the best Airbus plane? Is it A320? A320 family is, I think the A320 NEO, according to that little splash screen on Microsoft Flight Simulator anyway, is the fastest selling airliner ever. So I think the 320 is very popular for them. If you're asking which one I prefer out of the ones I fly, which would be the 319, 20 and 21, I personally like the 320 a lot. The 321 is lovely. It's got really nice characteristics in the cruise. It handles turbulence better, but in a strong crosswinds, I find the 320 is, I think, for me personally, it's just something I prefer, but it's entirely preference. They're all relatively similar, obviously, because that's how you can fly them all at the same day. Laughing now, a bit like asking VHS or Betamax, yeah. Hayden says the new AMD Ryzen 5000 series beat Intel to a pulp for single-threaded apps. Yeah, I saw the new processors out by AMD. They seem to be performing very well. I've got an i7 10700K in this computer, if anyone's interested. Just because that was the one that was around at the time that provided. Hopefully, I was hoping it would give me the performance for X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Simulator and streaming at the same time, and it does, which is great. But yeah, it's good to see so many good options on the market for consumers now. Although I'm sure it's going to be tricky to get hold of one, just like it was graphics cards. Lee Brown, thanks for the sub. This is running at 1080p, but I usually run things at, my monitor is now 1440p, but I run streams at 1080 because I don't think you can stream higher than that typically. I don't think you can anyway. I've never tried. I doubt my internet would manage because it would have to be so compressed. Right, our traffic behind us is descending, and it's probably a good idea that we start doing so too. Let's go to constraints. Zoom in. Getting towards our top of descent. 10 miles to go. Is that reasonable? How far away is the airport? 80 miles. Yeah. I think it's definitely time we start down. Start off with 100. Last idle open descent. We could go managed, which would be the pink mode. If I push it away, we'll get Mac Des. And we get the magenta speed tape. Something I should have done is just check what the computer's planning to do. This is a bit of a weird arrival. Normally, around 120 miles from the airport, I want to be thinking about descending, but we're only 70 miles away. The reason is we've got to fly past the airport, around all these DME arcs and so on, so it's going to take a little bit longer than normal. What I want to check is the altitude it's going to be at Lassel. Lassel at flight level 9.3. Now that's no good, is it? Because Lassel at 9.3, I want to be 2,500 feet by 5 miles, which is only, how far away is that? Well, that's 5 miles. So I want to be no higher than, well, 3,500 feet. I'm going to put 4,000 feet, which is the minimum altitude at Lassel, into Lassel here. And it's got a hold actually coded in. Ah, I didn't see that get added in. You can see that it says hold right turns. So if we go to plan... Yeah, it's not drawing... Oh, it is drawing it there. Okay. I would normally expect it to actually draw the whole hold out. So I'm not going to fly that hold. We're going to get straight in, luckily, today. So let's clear that out. Then we go Lassel FF19 in. You have to be very careful modifying flight plans like this if you're doing VORs. But there we go. Lassel FF 2,500 feet. Now it wants me to be 4.7. I'm just going to put in /4,000. I want to be at 4,000 feet, which is, as you can see, the minimum. Is it going to let me do that? It's got 4,000 plus, so let's put in 4,000 exactly. There we go. Now we're going to be high because it was planning on flying a whole hold, you see, so it had more track miles. So that's something you've got to watch out for when you're looking at the coding. It's diving down. The magic of managed speed, it should make it towards it. If I go to progress page, we're 5,600 feet high. So that one hold made a huge difference to our descent planning, as you can see. The other problem we've got... Oh no, we're at Costa Next 0, aren't we? Yeah, so the planned descent speed was 288 knots, or Mach decimal 74. Great thing is, we can actually descend faster than 288, so we have room. If you had a Costa Next of 20, and the managed speed was expected to be 330 knots in the descent, you've got no room. If you're high, you've got no more speed to use. Because of course, with idle thrust and a higher speed, we get more drag, so we can descend quicker. Dab, I have not flown in the States, so I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat knows better. Mr. Killer Bunny says, I don't want to spend loads of money on making X-Plane 11 better, and then nobody plays it in a year. Yeah, I can understand that. It's hard to predict, really. I mean, there's some good planes coming out next year. I want to fly the 340, A340 from Toliss, which should be coming to X-Plane 11 next year. So I'm sure I'll be still here, but that's hopefully that's early next year. Ian Morris says, if too high on the high Costa Next, would you need to ask for more track miles? Possibly. From this far out, we've got a little bit of room. Even 5,600 feet high, we've made 1,000 feet. At this speed, I can put half speed brake out, and we're going so fast, and I can increase the speed. So I'll go thrust side open descent and wind the speed to 320 knots. You'll see that we can actually recover it quite easily. So that if you're far out, you've got a lot of options. You can increase your speed and so on. If air traffic now gave us a speed limit because we're following another aeroplane, let's say they said, oh, actually slow down to 250 knots, then I might have to say, well, okay, we can do that, but we need also more track miles. Yeah. So eventually you have to ask, but from here we've got plenty of room to fix it. You can see the amount of drag we're getting out of that wing now is huge. There they are. And that's only half speed brake. In the 321 we can use up to full speed brake with the autopilot engaged. Chen Timothy says, is the dome light usually kept on during the whole flight at night? Good question. I've got a video out about all the lights where I talk about that sort of thing. So if you go to my channel, there's a video on lights. And no, in the descent, most people turn it off at night. In the daytime, sometimes you forget it's on. It doesn't really do much. Like this one's on up here, I think. I'm not really going to notice it. No one really uses that. It's very rare. I'm not really sure who it's for. I suppose if someone on the jump seat might use it. Oh, excuse me. Which isn't even fitted. Oh, I can't see it. Where is it fitted here? Yeah, there it is, yeah. Yeah, Morris, no problem. Good, right. What I'm going to do now, please don't break simulator. I'm just going to sort out that wind on the ground. Okay, it seems to be all right, but we want it to be effectively pointing down the runway 23. QNH 1028. So we're just going to make up our own weather now. Yeah, pretty close. There it is. And that's the sort of conditions where you'd end up having to circle. Okay, we're reaching our profile. Let's put those in. You want to get slightly below the profile because, of course, when I manage the speed, it's going to slow right down again. And as it slows down, we'll get high. So trying to balance the things together. On this arrival, MSA, as we get closer to the airfield, how close are we to Split? 22 miles. So our MSAs are valid 3,700 feet, so we can get down to 4,000 feet now. Let's set that QNH 102. I've already forgotten it. 1028. And we're going to level off early. So let's go to manage speed. Don't need to come screaming in like this now. And that's going to level us off before Lassel. Even at 250 knots, I can see my deceleration point there. So that's good. I think it might actually slow down a bit sooner. There's probably speed limits for these arcs. There often are. We shall see. Maybe not. I noticed it says expect radar vectoring to initial approach fix. So it could be that you just get radar vectors from air traffic normally and don't fly all these wacky arcs. Because I know at 4,000 feet I'm above the MSA, so it'd be quite safe for me to go from here straight to Lassel. But we'll fly the arcs, why not? Get a nice view of the coast here, the Croatian coast. Split will be down here somewhere, I think. Oh, just missed it. How about time? Let's see if we can spot it. Where is it? It's amazing how difficult it can be to find airfields like this, even in the real aircraft, just searching around out the windows. Can we see our colleague behind us? Not quite. No worries, Dougal. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Yeah, hopefully I can finish with a landing. I got a question for those more computer technically minded than me. I'm streaming this at 1080 and my monitor is slightly higher resolution, 1440. Now, when I make X-Plane full screen, it works and you guys get to see the full image. But last time we had some issues because I was running it in a window. But at 1080p, this game looks great full screen on my monitor. Whereas Microsoft Flight Simulator, if I don't run it at the native resolution, it looks terrible when I run it at 1080. It looks really blurry. And I don't understand why X-Plane looks so good at 1080. It looks as normal as ever. But Microsoft Flight Simulator looks really bad. Is there something I should do differently between the two? Matt has the same problem. There you go. Okay, it's not just me. Yeah, it's really upsetting because the 1080 is how I stream things. So when I stream Microsoft Flight Simulator, I end up streaming in a small window because if I make it full screen, it goes all blurry. There we go. Very, very small problems in life, I must admit. Okay, coming around the turn. It's all lovely, nice and visual with everything. If you haven't been here, there's Split. We can see the runway. If you haven't been here or to Dubrovnik, I highly recommend going to the Croatian coastline for a holiday at some point when we're allowed to again, because it's absolutely brilliant. Really lovely place to go. Yeah, it's the downscaling that's the issue. So the reason another reason I run Microsoft Flight Simulator at 1080. Oh, we've gone through 10,000 feet. Let's get those lights on before I get too distracted. Get the seatbelt signs on, and we're going to check in here. Let's check the progress page. Accuracy is high, GPS primary. So we're fine to use manage modes, but we're not going to. We're going to do this all selected. There you go. Yeah, there's something wrong with the resize methods, or something different with the resize methods. I'm just impressed with how X-Plane, I can't tell the difference, but Microsoft G definitely can. Maybe change the monitor settings. Ah, I see. Yes, because X-Plane seems to change the entire screen, whereas Microsoft doesn't. I wonder if that's it. Maybe I'll try that. Thanks. Yeah, there's an idea. I'll change Windows to run the monitor at 1080. See if that helps. See the things that you can learn with a live audience. It's brilliant. Thanks. Right, I'm quite happy to level off because I then want to slow down in that turn because we're going to be 250 knots and I want to be pretty much gear down flap 3 by FF. So this is working out. We are light enough to land, 68.6 tons, and we got loads of fuel, 5.9, so enough fuel to definitely try this again. This reckons 4 tons extra. I don't think we have quite that much extra because we also, if we were to divert, we're going to land with 5.8. I mean, that's not true. I think we'll land with, I'm not sure, but by the time we've circled all the way around, 5.3 maybe, if we're lucky. So I'd say we've probably got about a ton and a half extra at the moment. Something like that. Yeah. Tayani flew over Dubrovnik and Split on the way back from Crete. Yeah, coming back from Greece, you would fly over them quite often. And they're absolutely lovely. Sawat Photography says, when are you going to stream in Microsoft Flight Simulator again? Yeah, I will soon. Maybe in a few days. I try to stream in all the different sort of seats and aircraft and simulators just to keep it even. Also, I need to do a bit of prep to figure out where we want to go next in Microsoft Flight Simulator and what sort of Wikipedia facts I can find out before we do that. So that's definitely on the cards for the future. So yeah, so we will stream soon. Probably the next stream will be Microsoft, and then we'll go back into 7.5, sounds like quite a popular one, or the A300, one of those. But yeah, the next Microsoft flight, if I do another Microsoft stream, it will be another group flight with the general aviation. I find that I really enjoy those. Another question I have for you guys is anyone even slightly interested in any merchandise? Is it something that you guys would like to see? I don't know. It's something that's definitely possible to get sorted. And I've had some ideas, but it's something that I don't know if people are interested in. And I can understand why people wouldn't be. So, yeah. Just a question to ask. Yes, Cam A321. Yeah, I did see that there's a 321 available in Microsoft. I don't know how to get that, though. Right, let's slow down. Perf, activate approach phase. Coming around the corner now. Lassor, leaving Lassor 4,000 feet, we go straight down to 2,500. So I don't want to be any faster than this as we do that. So I may miss some questions in the chat now. People would like merchandise. Mug would be nice. Alan Story says, okay, mugs, yeah. Mugs are presumably popular. Turtle likes the idea. There's Alt. Okay, yes. Relatively stealth, says Dave Jr. Yeah. Okay, I'll have a think, guys, and we'll see if we can come up with something. Thanks for the feedback. That's good to hear. So there's flap 1 out. T-shirts is another thing. Yeah. Manta Ray mug. There we go. Tango Delta. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Flap 2. Okay, guys. I'm gonna dive out of the chat now. Let's see if we can get this approach sorted. So need to get down to 2,500 feet now, which is safe. 2,500 vertical speed. Keep the PFD up. Want to know what our modes are doing. Let's go gear down. Arm the ground spoilers. Get those nose lights on. Thanks for your subscription to Garav. I do apologise if I miss any more subs or anything like that. I'll try and check them on the ground. And flaps to 3. So we're now gear down, flaps to 3 in managed speed with the approach phase active, which will have us coming in around 100, just about 150 knots, which is absolutely fine for flying this procedure. So the next step is we're going to effectively fly the VOR approach. So you can see my Sierra Papa Lima needle is there. If I go to VOR, you can see we're tracking it on the center in a more traditional VOR view. That's pretty normal sort of for light aircraft. So what's a bit unusual is we don't have much of a profile for descending. We're just going to go down to 2,040 feet to circle as soon as we get past the final approach fix. Of course, we are visual, so that's great news, and we're likely to be visual for the whole approach, so that makes it good. Radio altimeter is alive slightly early. Could be a sign the QNH is wrong, or we're over that hill, and yeah, we did expect it. There it is. So once we're back over the water, I expect it to match up with the, there we go, it should match up with the altitude. That's good. Now, earlier I did try this, and I got a GPWS off this hill, so hopefully it doesn't do that now, but we shall see. Our wind is relatively light headwind when we come around the corner, as you'd expect. Out to star. Okay, now we can go down to 2,000 feet, so we're a little bit high actually as we went past the FAF, so vertical speed. Let's get down. 800 feet, down to 2,100. Radio altimeter is alive again, it makes sense. Right, I'm going to go into track, as we said. It's still in nav mode, so once we level off, I'm going to effectively pull the track to keep tracking the 019, which it's doing a great job of, as you can see, with that needle pointing straight at the SPL. There's out to star. Out. Okay, let's pull that track, 019, magic of the Airbus, it will keep flying a track. And now I'm going to wind in the go around altitude of 5,000. That's if we go around from this point. Less likely now, because that's more of a, if we're not visual sort of thing. So just before the Sierra Papa Lima, I'm going to put the 04, let's check it, 049 I think, wasn't it? Where's it gone? Yep, 049 in. Once we're overhead the Sierra Papa Lima, we'll start our descent. So we're getting close. I'm going to wind in the FPA to be ready. Oh, not that much, 2.5. Good, and then get ready with 049.
2,000.
Yeah, there's the radio altimeter, we knew that.
Terrain.
There's that terrain I warned you about. So 049. And as soon as we're overhead the SPL, let's start a descent. So FPA 2.5, tracking 049, ding the cabin crew. Now we're leaving the altitude, so we'll go to flaps full. ECAM's ready. Now we're doing this out to 3.4. We can go slightly outside the blue ring, but no further. So tracking 049 nicely. And this is where it gets a little bit fiddly, so we'll see how I manage in X-plane land. So now I'm looking for that DME 3.4 from the Sierra Papa Lima. We are below 180 knots, and we'll make that turn round. Making sure we're still visual, and this is the reason we can't fly in from this side straight in. All that terrain out there. Runway is just here. So about a mile to go. Let's take out the autopilot. Autopilot off. Flight directors off, which gives us speed mode, which is what we want for the auto thrust. Just not touching anything now. Airbus, as we know, is relatively stable at this point. Okay, 3.4, starting that turn. Kick off with 20 degrees. Keep that rate of descent steady. Coming around onto final now. This is where you'd normally be able to see the runway, and sadly we can't. So it's a bit of guesswork now, I'm afraid, guys. So if this is wrong as we come around, that's, as I said earlier, is my excuse, and I've said it before 1,000 feet again, so that's fine. Let's keep that descent going. So we are stable at 1,000 feet, fully configured, ready for the landing. Yeah, it's quite a fun approach really into the valley. We're within 4.6 as we wanted to be, shallowing out the turn. Haven't really picked up the pappies yet, so try not to get too low. Probably a bit tight on the start of that turn. Distance to the threshold. Bring up the progress page. About 2 miles, so we should be at 600 feet, which we are, so that's good. See, this is the problem with this. Can't see anything out the windows. There we go. Right. Just because that bar constantly in the way. 500 feet, looking reasonable. Yeah, definitely a slightly tighter turn than needed there. 3 whites to keep that descent coming.
400.
Going to need about 1,000 feet per minute probably to get down to 2 whites, 2 reds.
300.
Oh, bit of over controlling there. 2 whites, 2 reds. Get 3 degrees on the profile. Not much of a touchdown zone marked, so we'll just do our best for that.
100.
You can hear my joystick creaking, no doubt. Bit of an upslope on the runway, so we'll do our best.
50,
Get that flare.
30, 20.
Idle the thrust levers.
Retard.
Bit of a flare. Hold it there.
5.
And it's reverses. Green, decel. Rolling out. Medium water brakes working nicely. I think we'll be no problem for Alpha there. Okay. Idle the thrust levers. Let's go to forward idle. Manual brakes. Here we go. I should have probably announced some of that on on guard. So on Unicom. I'll just announce runway vacated. So there we go. We've made it into Split. So that was a bit of fun. I thought it would be quite fun to do one of these approaches. I used to do more of the challenging approaches. There's our colleague coming in behind. Fantastic. That's brilliant. Oh, there's a strange glitch in the graphics there. Yeah, so I think that worked out. Yeah. What was the... I don't get to see the landing rates on my screen, so it sounds like it went well from what you guys are saying, which is good news. Right, let's swing all the way around, get ourselves out of the way. Oh, there's a red line. Let's take the yellow ones, slow down. I think we'll treat ourselves to a terminal stand. Why not? As we haven't had the luxury so far. Right, let me just let our colleague know. Manta 234, runway vacated at Split. Okay, let's bring it to a stop. Just get through the flow, so AP needs to come on. People seem happy, so that was good. I'm glad it went well. Yeah, it's quite a challenging approach, that one, definitely. Disarm the spoilers, bring the flaps to 0, transponder to XPDR. What else do we need to do? Okay, get rid of the landing lights, don't need those. Get the strobes back to auto. Let me put up my my generic checklist. Right, parking.
Split traffic, easy to go for final runway.
Okay, good. There's our colleague landing. So what are these stands like? These look like drive on, drive off stands where we're going to sit on the nose and then leave by parking out like that. These would normally have marshallers. So let's imagine we're there. So we're going to turn off those lights. Thank you, Alan. I'm glad it worked out. There we go. Right, so let's get our nose wheel round. We will, of course, shortly go and replay that, guys. So we'll get another view of it. So it'll be something like this. Then bring the nose round. And this line is designed to sort of swing the nose wheel round on. And if your nose wheel follows that yellow line, then you should roughly be in line with this one by the time you go straight ahead. Oh, bit much overkill. And then we'll just keep putting forwards. And the idea will be that our nose wheel can follow these lines to leave again. So, as we've seen in my taxi tutorial, it's amazing how far forward you can be. Let's do that. How's that look? Yeah, there we go. Definitely in the stand. Slightly to the right, but there we go. And even there, we're not actually past the line. Okay, AP is available. Parking brake is on. Let's shut down the engines. Seatbelt signs off. Wait for those engines to spool down a bit. Below 10%, typical for turning off the beacon. Right, let's see our colleague. As our colleague, there we go. Fantastic. I don't know if they're in the chat. I may have missed whoever is flying the EZ22 Golf, but thanks for flying along all the way from Frankfurt. If it was intentional, it could be a coincidence. Looks like they've done a good approach to end up in the same place. Excellent. Right, thank you very much for the for all the kind words in the chat. I'm glad. 4 feet was it saying +4? Yeah, so the stream, the overlay does seem to rely on that that sort of upslope will give it that impression. Right, let's leave that sim and let's go have another look. Disconnect. And the magical feature of replay, isn't it good? So where are we here? So we're just coming around the turn here, aren't we? I do have wing views, of course, so you guys let me know what you want. I mean, you've seen the turn now, so what I'm going to do is go to the runway view, which is a standard. And it is a really wacky approach. There you go. You can see us coming around there, banking in over the hills. Look at that. Excellent. That's good fun. Looks really fast when you see it like that, doesn't it? Bit of over controlling, getting nervous there, pitching the nose up and down, trying to stay on those 2 whites, 2 reds. Rolling out wings level. Oh, the shadows go on the trees. That's pretty good. I didn't know that. Welcome, Andy H1302. There we go, into the flare, and you can see the upslope on the runway. So quite a serious flare. Worked out nicely. Get some reverse action. I did use a bit of reverse thrust this time. You don't really modulate. In real life, it's either max reverse or idle reverse. There's no sort of in between. But I didn't quite go to max there, so I should have done really. Excellent. Yeah, good landings all round, says Kayak. I agree, yeah. So, I don't know if there's another angle we want the replay from. Oh, let's... standard would be the passenger seat. So let me whiz it over a bit closer to the ground. Right, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'll leave it here then. Like I said, there will be another Microsoft Flight Simulator stream coming soon, as well as the videos and tutorials to come on the channel. Thank you very much for coming along and watching today. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you to the moderators for taking the time to moderate. Thank you to the people who donated very generously to help the channel. I really appreciate it. And I really look forward to seeing you guys in another video soon. Thanks as well for answering my questions on merchandise and so on. So that's definitely something I'll work on for future videos. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I won't even try and suggest everyone's name because there's so many of you here today. But thank you all for taking the time to come along and chat. And thanks for the subscription there to Farah. And what we'll do is start the outro music and let you guys enjoy the landing once more. Thank you very much. See you again in another video soon. Keep safe and well. Bye-bye.